Eiric and the Midnight Sun. Part 1. Life in the Northern Village. Long ago, in the far north, there was a small village nestled between high mountains and deep fjords. The houses were made of wood, with thick grass covering the roofs. Smoke rose slowly from chimneys into the crisp, cold air. The village was quiet in the early morning, except for the soft sounds of waves hitting the cliffs and the occasional call of a seagull. Children ran along narrow streets, laughing and playing games, while fishermen prepared their boats for the day. In this village lived a boy named Eiric. He had dark hair, bright, curious eyes, and an adventurous spirit. His father was a strong fisherman with hands hardened by years of work. His mother baked bread every day and tended a small garden full of vegetables and herbs. Eiric's grandmother, who lived in a wooden house at the edge of the village, often told him stories about gods, giants, magical creatures, and ancient spirits that roamed the forests and mountains. She said that sometimes those spirits guided people who were brave and kind. Eiric loved walking along the fjords. He would climb the rocks and watch the waves crash against the shore, imagining faraway lands beyond the mountains. He dreamed of adventure, of exploring unknown forests, and discovering secrets that no one in the village had ever seen. "One day I will travel across the north," he whispered to himself. His parents smiled when they heard him say this, but they worried. The north was beautiful but dangerous, especially for a young boy alone. One summer, the sun barely set. Its golden light filled the sky all night, painting the fjords and mountains in soft, shimmering colors. It was during this summer that a mysterious traveler arrived in the village. He was tall and wore a long cloak that glimmered like the northern lights. He carried a carved wooden staff that seemed older than time. The villagers gathered to hear him speak. He told stories about a hidden valley deep in the mountains, a place full of treasures, magical creatures, and wisdom. Eiric's heart raced. The villagers were afraid. They said the valley was cursed, that many travelers had tried to find it and never returned. But Eiric did not feel fear. He felt curiosity and excitement. He wanted to see the valley with his own eyes. That night, the traveler sat by a fire in the village square. His voice was deep and rhythmic, like the wind over the mountains. "The hidden valley is real," he said. "It is guarded by spirits, and it will test the courage, wisdom, and kindness of anyone who enters. Many have tried, but only the pure-hearted will succeed. Others are lost forever in the mountains, forests, or rivers." Eiric could barely sleep that night. He imagined the valley, green meadows stretching endlessly, sparkling rivers, and creatures no one had ever seen. He imagined talking animals, glowing plants, and ancient trees taller than any house in the village. Despite the danger, he felt more excitement than fear. He made up his mind. He would go. The next morning, Eiric prepared for the journey. His mother packed dried fish, bread, and warm clothes. His father gave him a strong rope and reminded him to be careful on icy paths. His grandmother handed him a small wooden fox charm. "This will guide you when you feel lost," she said. Eiric held it tightly. He felt warmth and courage flow through him as he looked at the charm. Before leaving, he walked around the village, saying goodbye to neighbors and friends. Everyone wished him luck, but many were worried. Eiric felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as he took his first steps toward the forests and mountains beyond the village. The path out of the village led through dense pine trees. The air smelled of pine needles and damp soil. Birds sang from high branches, and small animals scurried among the undergrowth. Eiric listened carefully to every sound. He remembered his grandmother's words. The forest is alive. Respect it, and it will help you. Be careless, and it may test you. Hours passed as he walked slowly, enjoying the quiet beauty of the forest. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating patterns on the ground. He paused near a small stream to drink fresh water. It was cold and sweet, refreshing him after his long walk. He felt the forest watching him, but not in a threatening way. It was as if nature itself was welcoming him. By evening, he reached a frozen river. The ice looked solid, but he remembered stories of travelers who fell through and disappeared. Step by step, he tested the stones and logs along the river. His hands grew cold and snow dusted his hair, but he moved carefully. Once across, he paused, breathing heavily. The fox charm in his pocket glowed slightly, and he felt a small wave of courage. Eiric set up a small camp under tall trees. He collected dry branches for a fire. Sparks rose into the cold night, and he watched the stars appear. He thought about the hidden valley, the traveler's words, and the adventures that might lie ahead. A soft wind rustled the branches above, and he felt as if the forest whispered encouragement. Before sleeping, he opened his notebook and wrote, "I am Eiric. I am brave. I will find the hidden valley. I will respect the forest and all creatures. I will learn from every challenge." Then he lay down under his blanket of furs and drifted into a deep sleep, dreaming of mountains, rivers, and the glowing golden tree of the hidden valley. Eiric and the Midnight Sun, Part 2, The Enchanted Forest and the First Challenge. The morning after Eiric's first night in the forest was cold but bright. The sun barely rose above mountains, casting long shadows on the ground. He packed his small bag, carefully folding the blanket he had slept on and leaving no trace of his camp. The fox charm in his pocket felt warm again, like a quiet reminder that he was not alone. Eiric walked slowly, following a narrow trail covered with pine needles. He noticed small signs of forest life. Tracks of deer, broken branches where a fox might have passed, and nests of birds hidden high in the trees. The forest was alive. Every sound seemed meaningful. The rustling of leaves, the distant call of a raven, and the soft murmur of a stream. After a while, he heard a strange noise ahead. It was like the sound of water, but different, softer and echoing strangely. Curious, he approached carefully. Soon he found a small pond, its water shimmering as if it contained light of its own. As he bent down to look, he noticed fish with scales that glowed faintly. He reached out his hand, and one fish swam close, almost like it wanted to communicate. Eiric smiled and whispered, "Hello, little one." Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the forest. A branch had fallen near him. Eiric jumped back, heart pounding. He remembered the traveler's warning. The forest would test him. He took a deep breath, calming himself, and continued walking. The path became steeper, and snow began to fall lightly. The trees grew taller, their trunks wider and the forest darker. Eiric felt a mix of fear and excitement. He thought about the hidden valley and reminded himself he was brave, kind, and careful. The fox charm seemed to glow again, giving him confidence. As he climbed higher, he heard another sound, soft footsteps behind him. He turned quickly, but no one was there. Only the wind? He was not sure. The forest seemed to shift around him. Branches moved slightly and shadows danced. Eiric hugged the charm tightly and whispered, "I am ready for anything." Suddenly, a small creature appeared on the path. It looked like a fox but had silver fur and eyes that sparkled like stars. It stepped forward, watching him closely. Eiric knelt slowly, not wanting to scare it. "I won't hurt you," he said softly. The creature tilted its head, and then ran a few steps, stopping to look back at him. Eiric realized it wanted him to follow. He followed the silver fox through narrow trails, over roots and rocks, until they reached a hidden glade. In the center of the glade was a large, flat stone covered in moss. Around it, mushrooms glowed faintly in the dim light. The silver fox sat down and looked at him expectantly. Eiric approached the stone carefully. Suddenly, the ground trembled slightly, and small lights appeared above the moss. They formed shapes, symbols he did not understand, swirling and moving as if alive. Eiric felt a wave of awe and fear. The symbols seemed to be a test, a puzzle he had to solve. He examined the symbols carefully. Some looked like animals, others like trees or rivers. He remembered what his grandmother had said. The forest speaks to those who listen. Eiric closed his eyes and listened. He could hear the soughing of the wind, the rustling of the leaves, and a faint whisper that seemed to say, "Balance, observe, act carefully." Opening his eyes, he studied the symbols again. Slowly, he touched the moss-covered stone, tracing the shapes with his fingers. The silver fox watched intently. Eiric moved carefully, trying different sequences. Each time he made a mistake, a gentle gust of wind blew through the glade, and the lights rearranged themselves. After what felt like hours, he finally understood the pattern. He touched the symbols in the correct order, and the stone glowed with a warm, golden light. The silver fox barked softly and circled around him happily. A small path opened through the trees, clear and safe. Eiric realized he had passed the forest's first challenge. As he continued along the new path, he noticed signs of other creatures. Footprints in the snow, broken branches, and small piles of berries left for travelers. The forest seemed to accept him now, guiding him forward rather than testing him. By evening, he found a small clearing with soft grass and a gentle stream. He collected wood for a fire and set up a small camp. The northern lights appeared again, painting the sky in green, pink, and purple. Eiric wrote in his notebook, "The forest tests those who enter. I am learning to listen, to observe, and to act with care. I will respect this land and all its creatures." As he fell asleep under the tall trees, he dreamed of silver foxes, glowing fish, and the mysterious hidden valley. He felt ready for whatever challenges awaited him next, knowing that courage, patience, and kindness would guide him. Eiric and the Midnight Sun, Part 3, The Mountain Climb, and the First Guardian. The next morning, Eiric woke early to a crisp, cold wind. The northern sun barely rose over the mountains, casting long golden shadows on the forest floor. He packed his bag, secured his blanket, and set off toward the towering peaks in the distance. The path led out of the forest and into rocky foothills, where snow and ice were already beginning to cover the ground. Eiric moved carefully, feeling the uneven stones beneath his feet. Each step required attention and balance. He stopped frequently to observe the terrain, listening to the wind and the faint murmurs of the distant mountains. His fox charm glowed faintly in his pocket, a reassuring warmth that reminded him he was not alone. As he climbed higher, the air grew thinner and colder. Snowflakes swirled around him, and the wind howled like a pack of wolves. Eiric wrapped his cloak tightly around himself and continued slowly, step by step. He noticed the footprints of other travelers, some fresh and some old. Some ended abruptly, as if the traveler had vanished. He shivered but pressed on, determined not to be defeated by fear. Midway through the climb, he saw a narrow ledge along the mountainside. One misstep could mean falling dozens of meters onto the jagged rocks below. He paused, studying the path carefully. Then he remembered his grandmother's advice. Think first, move slowly, respect the mountain. With careful steps, he crossed the ledge. Every movement was deliberate. He held the rope from his father tightly, testing each handhold before moving. His muscles ached, and his fingers grew numb from the cold. But he kept going. The mountain was testing him, just as the forest had. As night approached, the sky darkened and snow fell more heavily. Eiric found a small cave for shelter. Inside, the walls were carved with ancient symbols and drawings of creatures he did not recognize. He traced the carvings with his fingers, feeling a connection to those who had passed this way long ago. It was as if the mountain itself was alive, watching him and sharing its secrets. The wind outside howled louder, and Eiric realized that the night would be long and cold. He built a small fire using dry stones and some scraps of wood he had carried. The warmth spread slowly, and the glow revealed faint markings on the cave walls, lines of symbols resembling animals, rivers, and trees. They seemed to tell a story of guardians who protected the mountain and the hidden valley. The next morning, Eiric continued climbing. Suddenly, the snow shifted beneath him, and he slid down a small slope. He caught himself just in time, gripping a jagged rock. His heart raced, but he reminded himself to stay calm. He looked up and saw a massive creature standing on a ridge above him. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The creature had the body of a large wolf, but its fur shimmered like silver in the sunlight. Its eyes glowed with a pale blue light. Eiric froze, unsure whether to run or approach. Then he remembered his grandmother's words. Be brave, but also kind. The forests and mountains judge your heart, not just your strength. He lowered himself carefully, keeping his hands visible, and spoke softly. I mean no harm. I am traveling to the hidden valley to learn and to respect the land. The creature tilted its head, studying him. It let out a low growl, not aggressive, but questioning. Eiric remained still, his heart pounding, until the wolf-like guardian slowly stepped aside, revealing a narrow path through the snow. It was as if it had judged him and allowed him passage. Eiric followed the path, feeling both relief and awe. He understood that every creature he encountered was a test of courage, respect, and patience. The guardian's eyes lingered on him until he was out of sight, and he felt a deep respect for the mountain and its protectors. As he continued upward, he encountered more challenges: icy slopes, narrow ledges, and hidden crevices. Each time he paused, observed, and moved carefully. He learned to listen to the wind, to feel the snow under his feet, and to read the subtle signs of the mountain. Every challenge made him stronger, wiser, and more confident. By evening, he reached a small plateau where the wind was less harsh. He found a sheltered spot and built a fire. The northern lights appeared in the sky, dancing across the horizon in green, pink, and purple. Eiric wrote in his notebook, "The mountain tests courage, patience, and respect. I am learning to move carefully, think clearly, and trust my heart." That night, as he drifted into sleep under the flickering lights, he dreamed of silver foxes, glowing fish, and mysterious hidden valley. He felt ready for whatever challenges awaited him next. The mountain had taught him its first lessons, and he was prepared to continue his journey toward the unknown lands beyond. Eiric and the Midnight Sun, Part 4, The Storm and the Mountain's Test. The morning light barely reached the snowy peaks. Eiric awoke on the small plateau, the fire's glow fading into the pale northern sunlight. The wind was stronger now, whistling across the mountains and carrying fine snow that stung his cheeks. He wrapped his cloak tightly and adjusted his pack. The fox charm in his pocket glimmered faintly, reminding him of the forest, the silver fox, and the mountain guardian. He started ascending the steep slope, carefully testing each step. The snow was soft in some places and hard in others, hiding dangerous crevices. Every movement required concentration. His breath came in puffs, visible in the cold air. The silence of the mountain was broken only by the distant roar of falling rocks and the whistle of the wind. Hours passed. Clouds gathered overhead, turning the sky gray. The wind became colder and stronger, and snowflakes fell faster. Eiric found a rocky overhang and used it to shield himself. He took small sips of water from his flask and nibbled dried fish, trying to conserve energy. He thought about the hidden valley and the traveler's warning. Only the brave, wise, and kind-hearted succeed, he whispered to himself. Suddenly, a massive gust of wind nearly knocked him off his feet. He clutched the rope from his father and slid carefully down a few steps until he found solid footing. The storm was testing him, just as the forest and mountain had before. He reminded himself to stay calm and observant. Panic would only make the mountain more dangerous. The snowstorm intensified. Visibility dropped to a few meters. Eiric had to rely on his instincts, his memory of the path, and the small warmth of the fox charm. He moved slowly, marking his steps with small piles of stones. Each pile was a reminder of where he had been, a guide in the white chaos. After hours of struggling through the blizzard, he saw a faint light ahead. Through the snow, he noticed a small cave carved into the mountain. Exhausted but relieved, he entered. Inside, the air was warmer and dry. Ancient carvings covered the walls, symbols of animals, rivers, and celestial bodies. They reminded him of the markings in the forest and previous cave. It seemed the mountain itself was telling stories of guardians and travelers. While he rested, a soft sound reached him, a low, rhythmic growl echoing through the cave. Eiric's heart raced. He knew this was another test. He stepped outside carefully and saw a massive creature blocking the narrow path forward. It was unlike any animal he had seen, a snow-colored bear, large in the trees, with eyes that glowed a faint golden light. Its presence was imposing, but it did not move aggressively. Eiric remembered his grandmother's words. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. Kindness is the true strength. He spoke softly. I am not here to harm you. I am traveling to learn and respect the land. The bear sniffed the air and stepped closer, then sat down, as if judging his heart. Slowly, Eiric extended his hand without sudden movement. The bear lowered its massive head and sniffed his hand. A warm sensation spread from a fox charm in his pocket. The bear nodded, then moved aside, revealing a safe path to continue the ascent. Eiric continued climbing, following the path the guardian had allowed. The storm still raged, but he felt a sense of purpose. Every step, every careful movement was a lesson in patience, courage, and observation. He learned to read the wind, the snow, and the subtle signs left by previous travelers. By late afternoon, the storm began to subside. Eiric reached a high ledge with a breathtaking view. The clouds parted slightly, revealing the northern fjords below, glimmering like silver in the sunlight. He paused, letting the scene fill him with wonder and gratitude. The trials of the forest and mountain had tested him, but he felt stronger, wiser, and more confident. As evening approached, he found another sheltered spot for camp. He built a small fire and reflected on the day's challenges. He wrote in his notebook, "The mountain tests courage, patience, and respect. Today, I learned to face fear calmly and act with care. The guardians watch and guide those who are ready." The northern lights appeared again, more vivid than ever. Green, pink, and purple ribbons danced across the sky. Eiric watched them, feeling a deep connection to the land, the forest, and the mountains. He realized that his journey was not just about reaching a hidden valley, but about learning who he truly was. As he drifted into sleep, the storm's roar softened into a gentle whisper. He dreamed of glowing rivers, silver foxes, and the golden-eyed bear. Each guardian, each trial, had left a mark on his heart. He felt ready for whatever challenges the peaks and valleys ahead would bring. The Hidden Paths and Mountain Trials, Chapter 5. After surviving the blizzard and passing the golden-eyed bear guardian, Eiric entered a narrow mountain pass shrouded in mist. The cold bit his fingers and nose, but the fox charm in his pocket reminded him of the forest, the silver fox, and the lessons he had learned. Every step was careful and deliberate. The wind whistled through jagged rocks, carrying faint whispers. Faint carvings appeared on the rocky walls, animals, rivers, trees, and celestial symbols glowing softly. Eiric traced them with his fingers, feeling connected to travelers who had come before. He could almost hear them whisper, "Respect the land, learn from the guardians." Only the brave and kind-hearted reached the valley. Hours passed as he navigated ledges, icy slopes, and sudden drops. A small avalanche thundered down a nearby slope, snow and ice crashing into the gorge below. Heart pounding, he remembered his father's advice: steady hands and careful observation. Slowly, he moved around the danger. By mid-afternoon, he reached a plateau with a frozen pond shimmering faintly in the northern sun. Tiny glowing fish swam beneath the ice. Eiric whispered, "So many mysteries. The world is full of life I have yet to understand." He rested briefly, eating dried fish and drinking water. A deep crevasse blocked his path. He tied the rope from his father to a sturdy rock and descended carefully. Halfway down, a gust nearly knocked him off balance. He calmed himself, gripping the rope tightly. The fox charm glowed softly, reassuring him. Across the crevasse, he noticed footprints, not human, delicate with 3 small toes and claw marks. Following them, he found a hidden cave partially covered by snow and ice. Warm light flickered inside. The cave held a fire and glowing mushrooms lining the walls. At the center sat a creature, silver fox-like, with eyes glowing gold. Eiric approached slowly. "I mean no harm. I seek to learn and respect this land." The creature observed him, then stepped aside, allowing passage. Deeper inside, a labyrinth of tunnels appeared. The walls had carvings that shifted subtly. Eiric realized this was the mountain guardian's first trial, a puzzle of paths. Wrong turns led to dead ends or loops. He paused, mapping the passages in his mind. Days passed. Eiric navigated with patience, using intuition, observation, and kindness. He left small markers at intersections. Once, he found a small winged creature trapped under a rock. Carefully, he freed it. The creature fluttered beside him, guiding him to the correct path. Acts of kindness were rewarded. At last, he emerged into a vast cavern lit by crystals. A still pool reflected their glow perfectly. A stone pedestal at its center held symbols. Eiric approached. As he reached for a golden key atop it, a massive creature rose from the water, bear-like with eagle wings, glowing eyes. Eiric froze. "I seek only to learn and respect this place," he said softly. "I will not harm you." The creature studied him, then nodded and stepped aside, allowing him to take the key. This was a test of his intentions, confirming he was worthy to continue toward the hidden valley. With the key, Eiric continued. New passages led to hidden gardens with glowing plants, sparkling streams, and small jewel creatures. Minor puzzles appeared, arranging stones across streams, decoding symbols to unlock gates, moving quietly past sleeping guardians. Each challenge tested patience, intelligence, and respect for life. Days blended into nights. Eiric moved with the rhythm of this hidden world, learning that the journey was about observing, thinking, and acting with compassion. The fox charm glowed faintly, reminding him of his promise to himself and the guardians. Finally, he reached the edge of the labyrinth. Ahead lay a misty valley, rivers sparkling in the northern sun. Eiric paused. He had passed trials of patience, courage, kindness, and wisdom. Every guardian, puzzle, and observation had prepared him for the ultimate challenges of the hidden valley. The northern lights danced across the sky. Eiric smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. He had survived the mountain trials, storms, labyrinths, and guardians' tests. Ahead was a hidden valley, the place of ultimate lessons, mystical creatures, and treasures of wisdom. With determination, Eiric descended into the misty valley. Every step was careful, every glance measured. He was no longer the boy who had left the village. He was a traveler, a seeker, and a learner of the North. Chapter 6: The Hidden Valley and the Journey Home. The mist of the hidden valley hung low as Eiric stepped carefully along the narrow path. The golden key in his pack reminded him of the guardian's tests and the trials he had endured. Every sound was vivid: the rustle of leaves, distant streams, and occasional unknown creatures. Eiric's heart raced with excitement and caution. The hidden valley was real, alive, and full of wonder. The trees changed as he walked. Their trunks were wide, glowing faintly under the northern sun. Strange flowers bloomed in colors he had never seen. Birds with jeweled feathers sang magical harmonies. Eiric slowed, absorbing the beauty. He remembered his grandmother's words: "Observe first, act with care, and always listen." Soon, he reached a clearing with a large, crystal-clear pond. Around it, creatures moved gracefully: silver foxes, rainbow-winged birds, and small shimmering mammals. This was the valley's first sanctuary, a place for rest, reflection, and observation. He knelt to drink from a pond. A ripple formed, and a small glowing turtle emerged. "Welcome, Eiric," it said in a soft voice. "You have passed many trials. Only those who respect life, show courage, and act kindly may enter the heart of the valley." Eiric bowed. "I am grateful. I seek to understand, learn, and respect all I encounter." The turtle nodded. "The greatest trials are yet ahead. Patience, wisdom, and courage will guide you." Eiric followed a narrow trail, winding through forests and hills. He faced both physical and mental challenges, crossing rickety bridges, climbing rocks, balancing over streams, deciphering carved symbols, and solving riddles whispered by the wind. Each challenge reminded him of the lessons from the mountains and labyrinth. Acts of kindness were rewarded. Observing carefully kept him safe. Thinking patiently helped him avoid hidden traps. Every step strengthened his confidence and deepened his understanding of the valley's magical laws. After days of walking, he reached the base of a massive hill. From the summit, he could see rivers sparkling like silver, glowing forests, and in the distance, a golden tree taller than any mountain. Eiric knew this marked the center of the valley, the ultimate goal. The climb was steep and exhausting. Eiric moved carefully, placing each foot with precision. A gust of wind almost knocked him down. He held the fox charm tightly, feeling warmth and courage. Halfway up, a creature blocked the narrow trail, a large deer with glowing antlers. Its eyes studied him carefully. Eiric spoke softly. "I mean no harm. I seek only to reach the heart of the valley, to learn and understand." The deer stepped aside. Eiric realized the creatures judged his heart, not his strength. Renewed, he continued to the summit. At the top, the golden tree stood radiant, its trunk wide and glowing, leaves shimmering like the northern lights. Mystical creatures gathered beneath it, glowing birds, silver foxes, and small winged beings. They looked at him expectantly. The tree whispered softly, "Eiric, you have shown courage, patience, kindness, and wisdom. You are ready for the final lessons of the hidden valley." He listened carefully. The tree taught him about balance in nature, respect for all living beings, and the importance of courage with wisdom. Eiric understood that the journey was not about treasure, but about learning life's hidden laws, harmony, and the strength of heart and mind. Hours passed. He helped the creatures, arranging stones, clearing debris, assisting smaller animals. Each act deepened his understanding and strengthened the bond with the valley. Eventually, the tree guided him to a narrow path leading out. The valley creatures gathered to see him off. Silver foxes brushed past him, the glowing turtle nodded, and birds sang a farewell. Eiric promised, silently, to carry these lessons to his village. The journey back was long but easier. With his knowledge and experiences, Eiric navigated forests, mountains, and hidden trails safely. He reflected on each trial, guardian, and lesson. Courage, patience, and kindness had helped him survive and return wiser. Finally, he emerged from the mountains. The familiar view of his village appeared. Fjords glimmered under the northern sun. Eiric felt joy and completion. He had left as a curious boy and returned as a traveler, a learner, and a guide. His parents and grandmother ran to meet him. They embraced him warmly, astonished and relieved. Eiric shared stories, lessons, and creatures he had met. Many villagers could not fully imagine the hidden valley's wonders. Yet he smiled, knowing the valley's true magic remained a secret for those brave enough to seek it themselves. That evening, the northern lights danced in the sky. Eiric sat quietly, reflecting. The fox charm glimmered softly. The true treasure of the hidden valley was wisdom, courage, and respect for life. The adventure had ended, but its lessons would guide him forever. Eiric's story became a legend in the village, a tale of courage, patience, kindness, and the wonders awaiting those brave enough to explore the unknown. Though he would tell the tale many times, he knew the valley's magic remained for the pure-hearted to discover.